All right. Welcome to Intellicide. This is Anthony, and my co-host is Kyle Palmerville. And join us as we try to figure out who murdered intelligence and killed common sense. So, Kyle, it's been a lot going on since our last broadcast. What do you think about everything that's been going on?
Oh, it's predictably horrible. It's been the nothing less than the destruction of America's standing in the world.
Right.
And
Yeah, I apologize for that phone ringing in the background, man.
no, that's
Telemarketers.
okay. Um, honestly, I got a simple argument that I can walk through to show how is his main signature issue of Trump's campaign, immigration,
Mhm.
he's failing at it miserably. And I can walk you through exactly how and why.
Well, hey, I'm attentive, man. Let me know why.
All right, here we go. All right, you can see my window here.
Yes, I
I'm
sure
going to start
can.
with this, and we're going to start off with just how trustworthy this particular government is and just how bad the propaganda from them has gotten. So you've seen like the propaganda poster type stuff that they've been putting out in all the different government accounts.
Correct.
This one was just out like within the last day or so. The Guardian posted this
Hmm.
showing that one of the women who was arrested for protesting in that church,
Hmm.
the White House posted an image of her. There was an AI altered image. And the Guardian basically announced it shows this is the original image,
uh,
and this is the image the White House posted showing her crying, even though she never was. Like to try to insinuate that she's guilty and knows it or something. That's basically what they insinuated. So
right.
just to start off, this is the level of trustworthiness we have from this. So on the signature issue of immigration,
Uh,
they started off by, you know, setting this really, and this is where it starts to get stupid. They set a
right.
3,000 people a day quota for them, for the agents to arrest. 3,000 arrests a day.
Correct.
Arrest, not deportation, because that's
Yep.
key. So, in order to meet this quota, they
Hmm.
had a huge budget increase. They went on a huge hiring spree. They lowered their hiring standards so they could
Correct.
get more people in.
Right.
And
Don't forget they also lowered the amount of training days.
yes, they lowered the training days to, was it 46, 47?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Now, ICE also issued its agents a memo claiming that
Hmm.
they can forcibly enter homes without warrants.
Well, judicial
Now,
warrants.
judicial, well, that's the only kind of warrant that's legal. So
Well, right.
The Fourth Amendment specifically
Mhm.
states that no one can enter your home without a judicial warrant, without a warrant signed by a judge. The only other
Right.
type of warrant is an administrative warrant, and that's what
Correct.
they're claiming that they can use. An administrative
Correct.
warrant is literally them writing themselves a note saying it's okay.
Right. Right.
It's
It's
literally
it's
Epstein's mom says it's okay for Epstein to be
right.
absent, you know?
Imagine if I printed out a receipt on my computer. I typed it up, printed it out, and then I took it to the store and said, "Hey, I want a refund."
Right, exactly. Same kind of thing. So, based on that, though, using that, they've been doing things like this that
Hmm.
happened last weekend, where
Correct.
they dragged a Minnesota man. And this is where I'm my problem with the US media is that within the last year, the US media has become complicit in normalizing and trying to sanitize what's going on. Because this whole Reuters article talks about how he was the wrong man. ICE detained him in the sub-zero temperatures and nothing but his underwear, took him out of the home, drove him around, then brought him back home and dropped him off because they had the wrong guy.
Hmm.
They broke into his home, and this is the thing. They broke into his home, according to the,
Hmm.
again, the Guardian. We got to go to an outside
Hmm.
without a warrant.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so
It's
that's the
terrible.
thing, right? And so this is the
Hmm.
other type of thing. In order to meet those 3,000, arrest quotas, they do
Hmm.
things like this. They arrest children on their way home from school And
Right.
the father, both of these people, the boy and his father are both here legally, but
Hmm.
they arrested them both to be released later because the only thing that matters is that they make arrests, not that they actually deport people.
Right. Well, you hit the nail on the head. The problem here is that they're giving bonuses to these individuals based
Hmm.
on how many people they bring
Right.
in,
So the
not that how many
incentives
they're
are wrong.
deporting. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the incentives are screwed up, so that the agents don't have an incentive to obey the law.
Hmm.
And so what happens is they do this. Now, this is this is the result in deportations. The number of deportations plummeted
Hmm. Hmm.
very low. They hardly
Right.
deported anybody last year, less than 100,000 people.
Right.
All of this chaos, all of this violence, all of this ice strips, and they didn't deport even as many as deported his first
Uh,
term. But
okay.
here's the
Let's
thing:
think about this.
what they did do, the
Hmm.
number of people in ICE detentions hit record high. And ICE has contracts with for-profit prisons around the country, including here
Right.
in Michigan, to hold people. And that's what they're doing. They just hold people because then the contractors for the prisons make a per bed per diem. They get
Right.
paid by the government for how many people they hold. And the government in this alligator Alcatraz,
Hmm.
the prison camp up in the UP in Michigan in the freezing cold,
Hmm. Hmm.
all these places, uh, that's where these people are. Is they're arresting people who aren't criminals. They're not the worst of the worst, and they're just holding them. They're not deporting them. So they're not getting rid of these people. They're just churning. They're creating a pipeline for-profit prisons to waste taxpayer money.
Right. But again, you hit the nail on the head. The quota 3,000 a day just to arrest people.
Yeah,
But if someone just actually thought about that, 3,000 people a day. So in a month,
more than
you're
a
talking
million a
about
year
how many people are you talking about in a month? 9,000 people?
in a month. Well,
Right.
if they're doing 3,000,
90,000.
oh yeah, if they're doing
90,000.
3,000
Yeah.
people a day,
Yeah.
that's
90,000.
yeah,
So, but that's what I'm saying. Do we really think that it's possible to deport 90,000 people a month
right,
and then for a year? How many people do you think we have in this country illegally?
and that's the whole thing. And this is where it gets at. If you're arresting people when they're showing up at court for their court dates, they're not arresting the illegals because those
No.
people are doing it the right way. They're showing up for their court dates. They're trying to go through the system. That's how
Right.
you know that this is a farce, that they're not going after illegals because they're arresting people. They're arresting people who had legal green cards by going in and just arbitrarily canceling the green card and then arresting them, claiming, oh, well, they were
Right.
illegal. They weren't illegal until you canceled the green card.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I wish I had the news article handy. Um, Here it is. Chris Busby, a U.S. veteran. He is fighting now for his wife and her release. She's a Venezuelan native,
Oh,
but
yeah.
she's been here legally. She had a court date, an immigration court date, or a meeting rather, and she went to her meeting, her regularly scheduled meeting, and she's been in detention since then. So again, it's not for all of these very bad people that he made mention of during the election. It's
Yeah,
not about getting the worst of the worst out.
it's not.
It's You're right. Like you said,
I mean,
it's for money. It's
they
for
called, and this is the whole
capitalism.
thing, they call Obama the deporter in chief because, yeah, look
Right.
at this. He deported numbers of people, but you never saw, there was no chaos in the streets. You didn't see ICE breaking down doors and tackling people. Because they were going, and this was before they had the huge surge in funding. They were able to accomplish all this with what ICE had before 2024
Because
because
they
they were
did
doing
it
it the right,
legally.
and they were doing it the right way. They
Right.
wasn't this thing that's going on right now is really, I've been calling it authoritarian theater because that's really what it is. It's all just theater. They're just going through these super violent motions of, oh, well, look, they claim now that crime is down. Well, it depends. Like, first of all, A, do you trust any data coming out of this government?
No.
No.
That's why they shut down what was it, the OMB um that they
Yeah.
shut down,
Yeah. Well, he
basically.
fired the guy who was in charge of it before.
Right.
So, like, whoever they have now is someone who says that they'll only release good numbers. So you can't
They
trust
haven't
what they
released
say.
any numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the claim from the government this week is that, crime is way down now. Well, I don't know how much I trust that. And in a police state, crime is of course going to go down because you've got troops on, but that's third world country stuff. Like Jesse, I don't know if you saw, but Jesse Ventura was
Mhm.
interviewed,
Yes,
and
I
his
saw that.
claim was that, Trump has turned the US into a third world country because in third world countries you have the military doing the job of the police.
Let's look. So a lot of these problems, I believe, started decades earlier. And I'd like to point out the inception of Fox News. Um,
Yeah.
they started this trend of not believing mass media. Back in the day, you had personalities like Walter Cronkite, and people had a trust of the media sources.
I would go so
Fox
far as
News
to
came,
say it started when Reagan got rid of the fairness doctrine
well, you can say that too,
because that's what
but
allowed them to create Fox News.
well,
Fox News
okay,
was the first media founded on having partisan bias.
but even with partisan bias, they instilled a sense. The message was don't trust the mainstream
The
media.
rest of the media, right?
Right.
Even though
So,
they were the highest rated, they
right,
called everyone else mainstream,
right.
even though they are
So,
by definition the mainstream media.
exactly. So you start this campaign of distrust. We
Yeah.
can't trust what you're saying flat out.
That's
We
cult
can't
conditioning 101.
we can't develop that kind of opinion on our own. So you started this, you started don't trust government. Long gone are the days of, JFK, where, hey, what, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for this country. We don't have that sentiment anymore. So you start this belief, hey, I can't trust, I can't trust, I can't trust. But then he gets in office and he says, you can trust me. You can trust everything I'm doing. And there's a certain faction that believe that. They believe everything he says, they believe everything that he does.
Hmm.
He's the only good one. He's the only one that's going to tell you the truth. He's the only one that can save America.
Right.
And they believe it. If you look at what they're doing in the greater context of the history of this country, at no other time, even back in the civil rights days, no one would have called the cops the Gestapo. No one would have made that reference, even during the civil rights moment. I'm not saying that there
So,
weren't bad actions taken,
yeah.
but when you look at what's going on now and you see, like you said, ICE, and they're operating with impunity. They are going and they're breaking into people's home based on this administrative warrant.
Well,
There's no regard for
I,
for legality.
oh yeah, it's got nothing to do with the law. It's just
Right.
theater. It's authoritarian theater. Um, yeah, you can like the killing of Renee Good, right? Like
Uh-huh.
as soon as that happened, and this is a great example of what you're talking about, right? We all saw the footage. We
Mm-hmm.
all saw her turning sharply to the right to avoid him. We all saw him step out of the way of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone saw it with their own eyes. The
Mm-hmm.
video is clear as day. He did not get hit. He fired into the side of the car, and the autopsy report came out too, showing that Renee Good, two things. She had a pulse for 8 minutes after they shot her, but they
Mm.
refused to allow a doctor on the scene to treat her.
Right.
And the autopsy shows that the shots that actually hit her and killed her were the ones fired
Mm-hmm.
from the side of the
Mm-hmm.
car. after
Hmm.
he was like in absolutely no danger. It was an execution. It
Hmm.
was, in fact, they're calling it like a homicide because there's really no. The problem is the government at the moment, if they refuse to charge him, he gets away with it. And so this is me saying this, right? Like, but I follow some creators of color who pointed out
Hmm.
something that I thought was very interesting from my perspective because it's not something I think most white people would think about. MAGA, I think, would reject this outright because they hate to even consider this kind of thing.
Hmm.
But the phrase that they used was that fascism is when colonialism happens to white people.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so that's kind of what we're experiencing, where all of the stuff that's happening in Minnesota and that, and where
Hmm.
they're basically going, and that's why like Obama was able to go in and do what he did and deport that many people and get rid of the really bad ones because he was only going in and targeted raids.
Hmm.
There was no quotas. They were only given, you know, here's a warrant for someone who's been convicted of a crime. Go
Hmm.
get them. And that's the only thing. These people are just being told, go arrest 3,000 people. We don't care who.
Right.
So they're out there just literally pulling any random person from their car that looks at them funny.
Well, like the Minnesota police chief said they're, taking in some of their officers, which
Right. Yeah.
they find out that they're officers and then, okay, no, no, our bad, basically. But they're not saying that. They're just walking away from them. It's not a good picture. It's not a good
Oh, well,
look
no, it's not.
when you
But the
consider
point is though
everything
that
that's going on.
that
Yeah.
kind of violence against a community is the kind of thing that people of color in America have been dealing with since the beginning. It's not new for them.
Right.
Like
It's not. But
it's not. I mean, we and
you
this is
have
like
people
in
that,
white people refuse to even acknowledge this these days. Like they like to think that like the rewriting of history in MAGA world is such as that like well oh everybody should be grateful to white people like we didn't do anything wrong. I never held any slaves. Blah blah blah.
well, we've heard
But
that argument before. We
oh
heard
yeah,
that
we have.
we were good in slavery. We heard that, okay, that's over with. You should get, like you said, get over it or whatever. Okay, you're right. We can get over it or whatever, but some things are still happening. This charge, like, you don't have to agree with DEI. You don't have to like it or
Mhm.
whatever else. But let's be real here. It's gotten a bad rap. And when you look at how they're getting rid of all these items for minorities because they say everything is DEI. At what point does it stop becoming
Well,
getting rid of a policy such as DEI and it just
this is
becomes flat
where
out racism?
this is where it is flat out racist. I can tell you. I can give you an example of how. Greg Abbott, the governor
Mm-hmm.
of Texas,
Mm-hmm.
right? He is a DEI governor. He is
Mm-hmm.
handicapped. He's in a wheelchair from a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Because of DEI, they have installed ramps and all sorts of accessibility devices that allow him to be able to get in and out of the government buildings. He is a prime example of DEI. But when he was confronted on that fact, he's like, no, 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 I'm not what DEI is. Like when they say DEI, that's not what they mean. That is what DEI is. But when they say it,
Right.
they only mean racism. They mean, oh, people of
Right.
color. That's that to them,
If
DEI is
Greg
another
Abbott was
racism.
black, then yes, it
That
would
would
be
be DEI to
DEI to
MAGA.
him.
Right, to MAGA.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they got rid of a plaque in a cemetery. I want to say it was in Denmark because a black soldier had done so much or whatever to save some other soldiers, and they had a plaque about black soldiers' contributions, and they took it down. Now it's a U.S. administered cemetery, but there's an outrage over there based on there were individuals in that country. They're not American, but they were outraged that that plaque would be taken down. So they've taken and gotten rid of so many achievements by blacks in the military and in the US government because of this scourge that they consider DEI is. But like you said, they're only doing it for the black or the minority individuals.
Right.
If you're going to get rid of DEI, then get rid of everything regarding those that are disabled, regardless of the race, those that need to be included
Right.
or whatever.
And that's really where it comes down to MAGA in MAGA's mind. They think, oh, well, we'll eliminate all of DEI and then we'll just put back the things that we approve of.
All right.
They think, well, we'll just restore the things that embarrass us to have
Mm-hmm.
gotten rid of, that are obviously just inhuman.
Well,
But
right.
the racist parts are the parts that they want to leave out. And that's where it's, yeah, you're
To
right. I
get
mean,
to get rid of that again, if we're talking about the history of this country, you cannot deny any of the actions that America has taken that's basically a black mark on its history. You can look at the Tulsa race riots. You can look
right.
at Rosewood. You can look at uh, Detroit
I
riots.
mean,
You can look at so many other events
so
that have taken place in this country.
yeah.
The
Well, so somebody else, a creator that I follow, pointed out that even people keep making comparisons between ICE and the Gestapo. But the
Mhm,
Gestapo, when they formed the Gestapo in Germany, they were
mhm,
studying like the slave catcher patrols in America
mhm,
and things like the way that the Reconstruction and post Civil War Jim Crow laws and all
mhm.
that's what they based the Gestapo on. When they wanted to
Right.
cleanse the Germany of the Jewish people, the people they didn't like, which started, by the way, with liberals, immigrants, and
Mhm,
intellectuals
mhm.
before they moved on to Jewish people. Um, yeah, that was the same thing that they I don't know. It's frustrating because it is. It's a pattern that can be seen and easily identified by
Right.
people who read and
Well,
care.
the language that is being used is expressly from Nazi Germany. That is what
Oh yeah,
people
yeah.
are drawing that correlation and comparison to. Again, it to me the actions, a lot of what they're doing now is it's a sad state for the Republican Party. I know we like to call them MAGA or whatever, but there
I
are
mean,
still those that consider themselves Republicans or conservatives versus MAGA. MAGA to me is the extreme now on the right. They're the extreme. And so the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, as they like to say, the party that
that
used to
party's
be of
dead.
family values, the moral party, the ones that would have fought against authoritarianism and all of that stuff, big government. Now they're okay with big government because they're running it. They're okay with
Yeah,
authoritarianism because it's their guy.
they were
They're
never
okay
against
with so many
authoritarianism.
things.
Their only fear was that someone would treat them the way that they treat everyone else. That's their real fear.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you could say that now, but
And
that's not what they
it's
said before.
it's not what they say. They never say
Right.
it. They just
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Like and this is the problem, right? Like in my entire lifetime, the right wing in America has never engaged in public debate in good faith.
Hmm.
Ever. And that's the sad thing to realize is that every time you try to talk to a right wing person about
Hmm.
debate or public policy in the last 50 years, they do nothing but troll, lie, gaslight, just because that's the whole thing. They gave up on democracy 50 years ago after Nixon got impeached. They gave up
Hmm.
on America and they decided they want what Russia eventually got and what Russia has now, which is they want effectively a one party state as long as it's their party in
Right.
control.
Right. Yeah.
We got
Well.
10 minutes left.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a sad day. It's a sad day, man. But that you know what? That's why I'm gonna join. I'm gonna sign up for the Board of Peace. I'm sure.
Mm.
I'm I'm sure that's gonna make the world better.
Well, I mean, you know what that is, right? his what he's calling the Board of Peace. He's charging countries to be able to go in and loot Gaza after they basically kill everybody that lives there, remove everybody that lives there, and divide up the land between Israel and America.
Well,
That's their plan.
right.
That's his
Well,
peace
look at
plan for Palestine is to just genocide, just get rid of all the Palestinians,
look who
clear the
signed up for
land,
the
and
Board
then
of
peace.
Peace.
It's pay for play colonialism.
Yeah, but look who signed up for the Board of Peace.
Oh, Israel, yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the crazy part. Trump's like, oh, well, you got to pay $1 billion to join it. Israel's like, you give us like $20 billion a year, so here's one of
Uh,
the billion that you give us
uh,
back
okay, so you have
because they're going to loot
United
that
Arab
land anyway. They're the
Emirates.
ones looting it right now.
You have Hungary, Pakistan, Israel, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Morocco, Albania, Belarus, man, and Kazakhstan, and President Trump holds the veto, the
That
only veto.
that's Trump's new world order. That's the crazy
Oh,
part that that's who Trump wants to be America's allies going forward. He's alienated, and this is what kills me, right? Like his whole thing with attacking Greenland and all of that insanity at Davos yesterday, where
right,
he was threatening all of Europe and just being, I mean, this
right.
dude is literally insane. The president of the United States is just openly and obviously out of his mind.
Well, the press
And
secretary said that he meant uh, Greenland, even though he said Iceland.
he doesn't
Only
even
one that
know
was
the
confusing.
dude's 80 years old. He's got, I mean, the bruising on his hands is worse than ever. Um, he's nobody goes in and gets routine MRIs all the time. Like
Hmm.
there's something obviously very wrong with the guy. And he's causing so much damage to America and our reputation around the
Oh
world.
yeah,
I mean, all
right.
of our former allies, all of our trade, this is what kills me, all of our trade partners, no one will trust us after this. Why
Why
would
should
they?
they? Right?
Yeah.
Why would they? Listen, the farmers. Now, I saw a video the other day where a soybean farmer couldn't understand why China was no longer buying soybeans. So again, you don't have to be as informed on political moves, everything that President Trump does and in every aspect of the world. But I would think that the industry or job or whatever else that you are in, you would be informed on how his actions would impact that. So you have nobody to blame but President Trump on him destroying the soybean market during his first term. It never recovered. So now you elect him again, thinking that he's going to turn everything around, and it's only gotten worse. Now we have more of a trade impact based on these tariffs that he does willy nilly, and I really do wish that the Supreme Court would come on and just release that decision one way or the other. I don't have any idea why they're taking so long or whatever to
Here's
just come
my,
out and say yay
eh,
or nay.
you know, I used to think conspiracy theories were crazy, but here's my thing. And this is where it's like, I'm not saying like I think he's doing this, but
Uh-huh.
my thing is, I can no longer put it past him to do something crazy like threatening a Supreme Court justice.
Really?
It's not outside the realm of possibility with this particular person.
Hmm. Wow.
And that's what happens when you elect a convicted felon.
Well, I mean that could be. I think it goes beyond him being a convicted felon. I think that the lack of moral character or fiber was well before he was actually convicted of any
Well,
felonies.
yes,
All you had to
obviously,
do was
he's been a
listen
piece of,
to him.
yeah, he's been like people have known that he's a crook for many, many years. But it's just like, yeah, it's to the point now where he's just so far beyond, like somebody had said, like he is the perfect embodiment of white supremacy. For the white supremacists, Trump He's white privilege personified. He can do nothing so crooked as to be a crook. He can do nothing, so fraudulent as to be called a fraud. Like he gets excused for everything that he does.
Right.
To a certain type of person, they will excuse him.
Well, the problem, the main thing that I have as far as this president is when he says something and you need an interpreter. Like his followers can say, "Oh, he didn't mean that."
Right.
I'm not a follower per se. I don't have the translator on or whatever. So when he says, "Hey, I can do this," or whatever, I take him at his word. I take it at face value because I don't know what you mean by just straight up language. It's not like he's using colloquials. It's not like he's using metaphors. He's saying
No.
something outright, and they say, "Well, he didn't mean that." How do
And
I
that's
know that?
that's what I'm talking about, the not engaging in good faith. Because what
Hmm.
happens is he goes out and he says repeatedly in public on social media that half the country are scum. He
Hmm.
literally, on multiple occasions, has
Right.
called half the country that didn't vote for him vile scum. But
Evil.
his
Don't forget
supporters
evil.
will
Right.
gaslight you to your face and claim, well,
Hmm.
he was just trolling. He didn't mean that.
Right. Yeah. Don't forget evil. They're
Right.
evil too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
so here's a
enemy.
question for you. Here's something actually we could do a whole episode in this, but I'm just curious what your opinion is on that the church protest for the pastor who is actually an ICE director in Minneapolis.
Well, again, I don't like to besmirch the church. All I'll say is that
Well, I don't
as
think
an
you have
ICE
to besmirch
director,
the church, but do
well,
you think the
I,
protesters had a right to protest?
I would not enter the church. No, not the protest. Outside, I say is fair game. I just don't agree entering a church service or whatever because again, that pastor may be an ICE director, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't disrupt the worship or whatever of everyone else that was in there.
I don't know.
But my feeling personally is as a pastor, I wouldn't really necessarily be a ICE director. That's just me, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I should say this with what they're doing now. I wouldn't have a problem so much as, hey, you want to enforce the law and do
No
right by
one
the
has a
law?
problem with
Right.
actually
Exactly.
enforcing the
That's what I'm
law and
saying.
kicking out like the really criminal violent
Right.
people. No
Right.
one has a problem with that, but that's not what
Exactly.
they're doing.
Exactly. That's
And
what I'm saying.
that's
If you
all
know,
I will
now.
say about it is personally, in my opinion, growing up Catholic and going to a religious school and growing up in within that in my whole life, I think Jesus would have been with the protesters flipping tables.
Yeah, I'm not Jesus. I want to be Christ-like, but again, I'm saying that I wouldn't have done that. Being outside, fair game. You're gonna get your message across.
Well, here's the
The,
interesting
the
thing.
the
Nobody
parishioners.
nobody was when ICE went into churches in order to arrest people.
Oh
Nobody was
yeah,
outraged.
I don't think that I should be going into churches either. Yeah,
But there was no
I
outrage
agree with
when they
that.
did it.
Well, again, we're this is what the conversation that I had with you a few weeks ago. Fear, and it's a shame that we as Americans are experiencing that kind of fear in
Yeah.
the current day and age. We should not be experiencing that. And that to
Mm.
me, you sit up here and you say you want to make America great again, and there is fear, palpable fear in the air.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we gotta sign off.
Got to wrap up.
Thank you for
Yes,
joining
sir.
us. And
Yes. Please like and subscribe.
I
This
gotta
is
add that to
Intellicide
this
signing
intro.
off. All right. Please do, sir. And I will see you next time.